Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? Thank you very much. We have a whole lot of questions. I don't know how much time you have. We'll try to get as much in. We didn't really expect this many questions. Probably I'll take the liberty of kicking off with a couple. One is that you have come into the system now. You've relocated, and we're all delighted that a person like you is, I think, one of the TV channels referred to you as the new kid on the block in the team that's shaping economic policy. There are two major things that we talk about government, at least people outside the government. One is the administered pricing mechanism in which oil is treated in India. I mean, the consensus is quite absurd. True, kerosene and LPG are sold at very, very low prices, resulting in a massive adulteration of diesel with kerosene. And then we have ONGC reporting losses even when oil goes to $100, $140 because there is a complicated subsidy formula. With your fresh thinking, do you have any ideas to the government to, and of course we have the oil bonds which are huge, which are taken below the line in the deficit, which is but really part of the fisc. Is there any new ideas you're proposing to the Prime Minister? The second is that you said that the investment is a problem in India, and you're suggesting massive infrastructure investment to get out of that. If you see the type of figures we're getting in the first 10 months of this year, the tenders which have been issued by the national highways is 1/4 of the number of kilometers that were issued 4 years ago. The National Urban Mission has not spent more than 20% of the money in the budget. The Rural Mission has spent only about 30%. Are you suggesting any systemic changes in the way government awards contracts and so that they're time bound and so on?
Okay. First, the Indian economy will probably go into a larger budget deficit next year. It's just a function of the slowing economy. And the estimates vary, but all the estimates are large. And given that we have a large fiscal deficit, and given that the government has to spend on infrastructure, this is the time we have to make sure that, as far as possible, subsidies which we shouldn't be giving out ought to be constrained as far as possible. And the obvious subsidy, which we have a chance to reform right now, is the oil price subsidy. Certainly with the oil price where it is a good time to accept that going forward, market price changes will be passed through to the consumer. There is absolutely no reason, in my view, to subsidize the guy who has a car on the petrol price. There's no reason to subsidize the housewife who uses cooking gas, because these are the richer households. And if you wanted to help out the households using kerosene, we have to move towards a more efficient way of giving subsidies to the poorest households, other than reducing the price of the commodity. And here, ideas across the world need to be brought into India, and I think there's active consideration of all this. One is identify the poor households and make direct income transfers to them, so that they will then see the price of kerosene and say, do I really want to spend whatever the amount is, or am I better off buying something else? So let the price be what the market dictates it is, but let them have an additional budget through a direct transfer from the government. Some estimates of the kind of leakage in the system of subsidies just tell you that this is a horrendous waste of government money, and that the same kind of activity can be achieved more directly by passing the money directly through to the poor households. And I think over time we should move towards that, identify the poor households and get them to open bank accounts, and then pass money directly through. There will be some leakage in that process. That leakage can be reduced over time, but that's a far more effective way. And so I'm completely with you. We should try and reduce subsidies, especially given that this is a time when we need to use government resources as productively as possible, and it's time that we create that space by reforming. We don't want to look in the eyes of the world like another Argentina, with huge fiscal deficits, huge debt, and worries about sustainability. And that's a place we're not at, and we need to stay away from that by cutting frivolous expenditure. On the issue of infrastructure, I'm again with you that the need of the hour is really execution. We need to push all the plans that are in place faster, much faster, so that we can ramp up. There's no point talking about new infrastructure projects at this time. They're going to come on board way down the line, far beyond the term of this sort of slowdown. What we need to do is push existing projects much faster, which essentially is about execution.
Thank you. A lot of questions. Anant has chosen some of them. The first, this came from the net. Mr. Jill Eapen, IIT Madras, MBA, Civil Engineering, 85. How do the recent events in the financial markets that exposed bad decision making in many of the blue chip investment banks affect long-held ideas in finance? How do these events affect finance and business curriculum at leading institutions such as the University of Chicago?
Well,